He's our lead in Lansing. Really does a lot of the hard work in the Capitol building, keeping our legislators and representatives focused on important issues with the environment. He's got extensive experience working for campaigns and political consulting. So we're lucky to have him tonight. Um, he's going to talk a little bit about the upcoming election and some of the things we can do to help environmentally focused candidates be successful. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll try and manage that then towards the end of Tim's presentation. So Tim, go ahead.
Perfect. All right, I am going to share my screen.
I think I might have to make you co-host. Switch.
Is it work?
Oh, yeah, it's working anyway. Yeah, it's working anyway.
Okay, perfect. Well, let me put this into slideshow mode, first of all. Perfect. All right. So, as Charlie alluded to, I'm going to be talking about, the politics kind of the environment here in 2024, the work that we're doing, the work that we would love to get you all involved in, and a little bit of the lay of the land also in terms of legislative policy too, which is all intertwined here. We always like to say we need to turn electoral victories into legislative victories to ensure that we are electing environmental champions to office, all levels of office, local level, state level, all the way to the federal level and presidential level. And as Charlie said, my name's Tim Minotas. I'm the Deputy Legislative and Political Director for the Michigan chapter. Unfortunately, for some of you all, may have heard me say this earlier. Unfortunately, Christy McGillivray, who is our Legislative and Political Director, my partner in crime here, in our political and legislative work. She's on her way up to Marquette up in the UP right now. Her and our interns are going to be spending the weekend knocking doors for Representative Jen Hill, one of our big environmental champions, who is in a very hotly contested race. And so she sent her regards, but you all have me tonight. So surely we all, tuned into what took place as the Michigan election certification process grabbed national headlines back in 2020. Before January 6th, we had our own armed insurrection here in Lansing. If you all remember, the attacks on our democracy really started in earnest at the intentional disruption of vote counting at the TCF Center in Detroit on election day in 2020, and really carried all the way through to the Wayne County Board of Canvassers meeting that really grounded to a halt when I believe Monica Palmer refused to certify votes from the city of Detroit. And really that led all the way up to the contentious meeting of the State Board of Canvassers. But we all saw what collective action can look like in 2022 when we delivered huge victories here in Michigan. And, however, it's not just disruptions on election day in 2024 that we are bracing for, but also disruptions and intentional monkey wrenching during the weeks after the election, where previous, political processes are going to be. I think at all levels of, our organization, many different organizations involved in the political work, all getting prepared for, different scenarios of the election outcome. It's unfortunate, that we even have to do this, but it is a sad reality of, where we are today in American politics. Let's see, where this go? Perfect. And so, but on a more lighter note, over the past notification, over the past 2 to 4 years, your all's unwavering dedication really has been the driving force behind the remarkable progress we have made. You know, the passage of Michigan's 100% clean energy bill, and the transformative impact of the Inflation Reduction Act that was championed by President Biden stand really as a testament to the significant strides we have made in climate investment and environmental stewardship, and what we are able to achieve when we do elect environmental champions to office. The clean energy industries are booming and powering Michigan's economy, with Donald Trump and his big oil allies still trying to pull the plug out from all the progress we have made. You know, really since the passage of our clean energy plan and the IRA here in Michigan, we have benefited from new clean energy projects that have invested over $26 billion here in the state, 21,000 jobs across the state, and, you know, there's many more to come. And so Michigan has seen the most new clean energy projects of any state since the passage of the clean energy plan. And we actually rank second for new investment and fourth for new jobs. So our state is really establishing itself as a leadership in clean energy. And a lot of that is thanks to you all and the advocacy and the work that you have all done over these past, 4 years, in terms of both at the federal level when it came to the Build Back Better, to the advocacy at the clean with the clean energy plan. The Sierra Club, we have also seen other progress on key legislation. Governor Whitmer signed bills that eliminated the polluter panels here in the state of Michigan. Our Senate and another piece of legislation is making its way through the state legislature right now that would restore Eagle's authority to protect our state waters, as well as we passed legislation that Governor Whitmer signed into law that repealed the no stricter than federal law, which was really crucial. So, but, again, such success was only possible because of the democratic processes that really enabled a big wave here in 2022 because of you all. So as you see on the screen here, good things happen after we elect pro-environmental lawmakers, but we do have to keep pushing, as I'm sure many of you all have seen the struggles we have also faced with our state legislature on other key issues. The other thing, though, I think this comes as no surprise. There really is not a day that goes by that we don't have another headline really reminding us why we must fight to protect the progress we have made on clean energy. From the heartbreaking devastation of Hurricane Helen to the news that the forest fires, that we faced, last year, to historic flooding. We have just so much to fight for and to protect, and so much work ahead of us still. Democracy is our best weapon against the greed of fossil fuel companies, utilities, petrochemical companies that are really driving climate change and the devastation we are seeing in our communities. So we must turn out grassroots voter support for pro-environmental champions that have stood with us against the corporate greed that still has way too much power in Lansing. There's a long history of dark money and corporate interests skewing our legislative process, and I think it's fair to say that a healthy democracy has always been more of an aspiration for our country and our state than a reality. However, that aspiration has meaning and purpose, and that the threats we are currently facing, undermine the basics of what to date has been a shared democratic ideal. And so we are always working and will continue to work to strive better and turn our state and our country and our communities into what we want them to be. Just last week, I'm sure you all have heard about the data centers legislation. We had, over 20 Sierra Club volunteers, staff, interns join us to, protect Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller deserves Representative Miller deserves a ongoing support, given how hard she fought for environmental protections on the tax breaks for data centers. We have a lot of champions who are worth our praise, who are doing the right thing on a daily basis, standing up for the values that we all share, not only as Sierra Club members, but as residents of this state. And as we stand at a crossroads of two drastic visions for our future this election cycle, the path we choose will define not just Michigan's future, but our nation's. And the momentum we have built for transformation is really now in our hands to safeguard or relinquish as a country. You know, as a tool that we do use, that we have in our toolbox as a way to hold lawmakers accountable, is our scorecard. To hold them accountable for their actions. The Sierra Club, we publish a legislative scorecard highlighting where legislators stand on key priority issues. We use our scorecard to make sure Sierra Club members and supporters know how their elected officials voted. This legislative session, we will be putting another one together that should be coming out at the end of the year. You know, our scorecard focuses on floor votes. We track committee votes, bill sponsorships, public statements on key issues from our policy priority document. And, you know, we are also committed to ensuring that our decisions to score are always communicated with lawmakers and their staff ahead of time. You know, we always tell lawmakers if they are unsure about something that may be included in our scorecard. We always encourage them to reach out to us and to our organization. And so this is one of the very key tools that we use as an environmental community. And I will say it is really effective. You know, when we tell lawmakers that we are scoring a vote, it really does give them pause of concern, especially when us and our partners at LCV do the same thing together. I mean, it really is a tool that really gets lawmakers to think hard about their votes. And so, you know, it is an incredible tool that we do have. So one of the key things that you all can do, I know I've mentioned about things that you all can do, and I'll talk about other opportunities that are, you know, important opportunities that we're having here at the Sierra Club, is that Michigan needs election inspectors and poll workers for early voting period and election day itself. As we all know, elections are a cornerstone of the democratic process. Yet there are significant shortages of election poll workers that really could prevent polling places from opening for upcoming elections. I always like to say, you know, poll workers are literally the first line of defense in protecting our free, fair, and safe elections. I mean, they are the democracy protectors. So I highly encourage you all to consider volunteering as an election worker. And take the leap. You know, not only does it help ensure that elections can take place, and not only does it help you gain invaluable insights and reaffirm, you know, our faith and power of community, but it also is an important job in ensuring that our elections are ran in a safe manner, in a fair manner. And they are, again, the first line of protectors, you know, for our democracy. So I'll send this all out. If folks are interested, I'll send out, I know there's a link to it here in this presentation, but I'll make sure that is sent out as well for folks that may be interested. And if any of you all are election workers, kudos to you already. And so, you know, what we are up against, you know, you heard me, you know, as I alluded and mentioned in the previous slides about money in politics and the influence they have, you know, in Lansing, but also just in politics in general. I think we know what we are up against. we all know the power and influence of corporate and other powerful interests have on our political system. But we also need to remember the power that we all have. One of the things I always like to say is, while they may have the money, we have the people. We have the people behind us. I also feel you all may have seen and heard from us about the issues we are facing, not only in Michigan, but across the country around data centers, and the dangers they face to our clean energy future, our water, and to ratepayers when they go unchecked. And, that is, one of the reasons why, Christy and I, the Sierra Club, our environmental partners at Michigan Environmental Council, League of Conservation Voters, NRDC, the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition, and many others are fighting real hard here in Michigan to ensure that, these big tech companies, if they're here to come in Michigan, are to actually live by our values and provide value to our state. And that is to ensure they are using renewable energy, that they are implementing water conservation measures, and not disrupting our water resources or depleting our water resources. And 3, that we are protecting ratepayers, not only from the water utility level, but our energy utility level, that when companies come in here, that they're the ones bearing the costs. I mean, we're talking about the most profitable companies in the world, and in no way, shape, or form should our residential ratepayers be bearing the cost for these companies. And so ratepayer protections is incredibly essential. And so in order for us to really achieve our climate goals, we need to have these safeguards in there. And as you all may have seen on the attacks from, the national level, folks being, attacked on clean energy, electric vehicles, other environmental issues, this is just one of the very attack ads to Representative Jen Hill up in the UP, just to give you an idea of what some of our champions are facing, for, standing up for what is right. We know fossil fuel money is still fueling attacks against our champions, and that's why it's critically important for us to fight back, to be knocking doors, to be making phone calls, to be writing letters, to be talking to our friends, and neighbors, and other family members, about, the environmental champions that, deserve our support. One of the things I want to go into right now is actually talk a little bit about some of the candidates that the Sierra Club is supporting. I'm going to start with Vice President and soon to be Madam President, Kamala Harris. Then I'm going to talk about some important state house seats for us to protect and pick up. Vice President Harris, prior to her announcement, support for Biden, the Biden administration was waning in Michigan. I think it was across the country. I think, with the debate, and what we all saw, which really led to, President Biden taking a step back, and Kamala Harris really taking a step in and really leading as our presidential candidate. And that's all not to say, I mean, the Biden administration has done some incredible things for our movement, with the largest climate investment in United States history. Vice President Harris's race this is going to be an incredibly close race. I think we all wish it wouldn't be, but it is going to be tough, which is why we need to be out there, supporting. Her surge, has, started to carry over to other states with targeted messaging. stressing the links between environmental justice and economic justice, stressing, our historic clean energy wins at the federal and state level, lead service line replacement. These are all things we should be talking about. This is just a slide to give you an idea of where our state house is and our state senate is. I think, you all are very much aware. Right now, we have a Democratic trifecta, Governor Whitmer in the governor's office. Our state house has a 56-54 Democratic majority. The state senate, a 2018 Democratic majority. And the Senate is not up. State Senate is not up for re-election here this year. They are all up for re-election in 2026. So no matter the outcome of this election, our state Senate is still going to be in Democratic control. Our House is up, and that's where the big fights are here in Michigan. One of the big key races, as you all have heard me mention throughout this presentation, is Representative Jen Hill. Her opponent is Carl Bonek, well-known former TV meteorologist and climate denier. He is explicitly anti-renewables. Rep. Hill received more than double the votes in her 2024 primary than she did in 2022. She has really taken on the responsibility of transitioning the UP to clean energy. She has been one of our biggest advocates for our issues, and also one of the biggest advocates even for lowering utility costs. And that has not gone unnoticed. While we all face extremely high energy rates, folks in the UP are bearing some of the greatest costs in terms of utility costs. And so that's not gone unnoticed by us, which is why, it has earned her support from the Working Families Party. Representative Hill has had a firm stance against the construction of Line 5 and has, placed her really in Enbridge's crosshairs. This is a very contentious issue up in the UP, and she took a principal stance on Line 5. And so she has really outraised her opponent here. She is out there knocking doors. She's doing all the things right, but it is the Upper Peninsula. Her race will still be incredibly close. She won by, small margins in 2022, and similarly, in 2024, this will be a very close race. Representative Betsy Kofia, she has been consistent in her work to make Northern Michigan a beacon for renewable energy projects. Not just that, for mental health issues to housing issues, other social related issues, she has really been a champion on as well. She's really leading a strong campaign this fall, outpacing her opponent in fundraising and fieldwork. She's also raised the most money out of any candidate for State House this year. And so she's really kicking butt. Her opponent supports the construction of Line 5 oil tunnel, as well as other terrible agricultural practices. She carries a record of reliability within her community, demonstrated by her success with small donors. Also the success, that she had at a county commissioner in Grand Traverse County. I will also say personally, when I was up knocking doors for her in early September, I was even getting, folks with Trump flags in their yard supporting Betsy. That is the kind of work and community focused minded elected official she is, that is really paying, dividends up there amongst all folks of both sides of the aisle. And so, again, this is also a tough district in Northern Michigan. It's not given, even though she's really, really working hard. But I do feel very confident about her here in 2024. Representative Jamie Churches, she has been a champion for her district, giving, early support to the Clean Energy and Jobs Act. She has been fighting against corporate polluters in Wyandotte. Ever since she's been here in office. She is a big proponent of polluter pay legislation, and has been a great voice for us, especially on energy issues. Her district is also hit very hard by power outages, and so Representative Churches has been another champion of ours. Her opponent, also a climate denier backed by far-right mega extremists. While she's significantly ahead in fundraising, this is actually on paper a Republican seat. There are more Republican voters in this district than Democratic voters. And so, while she is also doing all the right things, this is going to be a close race. And, it's one of the reasons why, we're going to be out, knocking for her next week on the 11th. Representative Jennifer Conlin, she has been incredibly strong on our issues. She has really been strong on PFAS contamination, and it's a big problem in her district. She also lives in a lake community district that has a lot of lakes, and so she saw a very high turnout in her contested primary. She has been a big supporter of polluter pay policies, and she has an opponent who also does not support polluter pay, holding polluters accountable, really tackling the water related issues that she has been such a champion on so far in her first term. Representative Reggie Miller, and I know some of you all were out knocking doors with us for her last week. She has taken the really hard votes for us. Her unwavering support for the Clean Energy and Jobs Act is being used to attack her. She was one of the first marginal seats to take a stand, against the data centers legislation. She has been incredibly outspoken in the community around the hazardous waste dump in Van Buren Township. Recently introduced legislation to ban T-norm here in Michigan, which was also championed by the late Isaac Robinson and his mother, Rosemary Robinson, prior to that. And Reggie has kind of taken on that mantle as well. And so she's really been sticking her neck out, for our issues in a district that is also incredibly tough. And so she is someone else who, we're going to be doing what we can to get her elected over the next month here. And so she's also someone very worthy of our support. Representative Denise Menser, she has really shown dedication towards water security in her district, has championed a law that now requires non-flushable wipes to be labeled. Her number one, issue is water quality issues. She's a scuba diver, herself. Plastics, I know that's something that's really important to you all in our membership. She is one of the biggest outspoken folks in the legislature around dealing with plastic issues, microplastics. She comes from a labor background prior to being in the legislature. She's also a Sierra Club member, but she has worked hard to alleviate the everyday struggles of regular Michiganders, and really bridging building that bridge between light labor and environmental issues and protecting ratepayers. She has been a strong supporter of polluter pay policies, and has been was very outspoken in our fight on the data centers legislation. And she's in a tight race. This is Macomb County. This is a district, a county that has been trending further read. But you know, again, this is a race though. She's out there knocking doors every day, making phone calls, being in the community, representing her community really well. That I think she will, you know, have no problem winning. Some potential newcomers, some seats that we could possibly pick up here. Shadia Martini, House District 54. This is Northern Oakland County, Auburn Hills, some of Rochester. She ran in 2022 and lost by just 1,000 votes. In a very contested district. And, you know, with the support she's been getting this year, I think this is a very potential seat that, you know, we can flip here in 2024. I have talked to her many times. She's a clear environmentalist, wants to be an advocate for our issues. Her opponent, who is currently Rep. Donnie Steele, you know, has been no friend to our issues in the state legislature. And so we're, you know, here over the next month are going to be out there supporting Shadia as well. Well, hopefully soon to be. Daniel Mahoney, House District 46, represents this is Jackson. He's currently the mayor of the city of Jackson. He was the first Black mayor of Jackson, first elected in 2021. Again, you know, he's a big supporter of our issues. He's been really focused on the housing crisis in the area. And he has been working very closely with Sierra Club leaders in Jackson on his campaign. Kathy Schmaltz, his opponent, who is a current state rep, has proven herself to be no friend of environmentalists. This should actually be a Democratic seat, and I think it would have been a Democratic seat in 2022 if, unfortunately, some really disturbing news came out regarding the Democratic candidate there in 2022 that, you know, really derailed the campaign, and rightfully so. Not going to name his name, no need to relitigate, but that Democratic candidate very much so deserved to not be in office. And so I think, you know, with a really good candidate like Daniel Mahoney, I think this is absolutely a seat that we can win. Janice O'Neill Robinson. She is a firm environmentalist who supports polluter pay policies. She's been in special education for over 30 years. Her opponent, Rep. Thompson, again, is no friend to our issues. She, I think, you know, met with you all for an interview when we were going through the endorsement process, and it sounded like, you know, she gave an incredibly, you all had an incredibly good meeting with her. And then Kyle Wright, this is also a seat worth pulling off. Representative Jim DeSanta was first Republican to represent this district in 10 years. This can definitely be won by a Democrat. Kyle, you know, is committed to, you know, protecting the environment, supporting polluter pay policies, and, you know, is committed to be being an advocate for our issues. And so, you know, all these candidates here in the pickup seats, you know, over the next month here, we're going to be lending some support to. If you all are curious, you can check out our bill tracker to see all the bills that we are following. You know, there's over 100 bills that we are currently tracking in the state legislature. Yeah. Our political internship program. I know you all are very familiar with this program. another big success this year. This year a little differently, we're making it smaller in size, more nimble. We have 6 interns that are working very closely with Christy and I. They are working directly with us on the coordinated side of our work and working closely with all of the candidates that we are prioritizing. So, some of the very first votes that legislators considered also in 2023, were bad versions of the aggregate mining bills that would have increased air and water pollution before anything else. We had to stop that, fight around the clock for our renewable energy package. And so, like I mentioned earlier, there's still a lot of work to do. We need to be working to pass things like cumulative impacts that, we haven't been able to, even under a Democratic trifecta. There is more work to do, and hopefully can by, the end of this year pass water affordability legislation. And so, while we were able to make great strides in other areas, we still have a ways to go in other key priority areas that really matter and make a difference. This is just a calendar. Absentee ballots are out right now. I actually just got my absentee ballot in the mail over the weekend. You can still request them until October 22nd. But you can also, if you're not registered to vote, you can literally register to vote anytime. We also have same-day voter registration, which means on the day of the election, you can register to vote and go vote at the same time. And then of course, November 5th is a general election. So how you can also help outside of being an election worker, and I know some of you all have already been really helpful with writing letters, getting out on the doors, making phone calls, also, advocating and reaching out to your lawmakers, during legislative policy fights. There's going to be an email going out, but I would love and make the ask of you all to join us to canvass for Jamie Churches on October 11th from 1 to 4 p.m. in Trenton at Jamie's campaign headquarters. That's where we'll be launching. And again, like I said, we'll be sending out an email that will have all that information, the exact address, and the sign up. I'll also send out the link. We're going to be doing some phone banking for Betsy Coffia on Thursdays and Sundays. I know from the campaign, Sundays are especially needed. And so Christy will be reaching out, but please let Christy know when you sign up to do so. GOTV, the Get Out the Vote, this is the week before the election. Christy is going to be taking some of our interns up to Northern Michigan to knock for Betsy and for Jen. I'm going to be running GOTV here in Southeast Michigan, where that whole week we're going to be, each day knocking for one of our marginal candidates. So, one day we're going to be out for Jamie Churches. One day we're going to be out for Jennifer Conlon. One day we're going to be out for Denise Mentzner. One day we're going to be out for Daniel Mahoney. And so, and so on. And so, we're getting all that information together right now. So in the next week, we'll have all those signups out to you all. And so really encourage you all to join us here over the next month to be knocking doors. That's one of the most important things we can be doing right now is, talking to voters face to face and having those conversations. And also doing that via the phones as well. And so, while yes, we all are giving money and donating to these candidates, one of the most important things we can be doing is getting out there in the field for our champions, singing their high praises to voters and and making those persuasion pitches. Also, you can sign up the phone bank for Jen Hill at the link here. Like I said, we're going to send this all out. This is an open virtual phone bank, which means you can honestly log in to make calls at any time with your own phone and computer. And so Christy's really going to be leading that. And so please let her know when you sign up. We have our contact information here, both Christy and I's. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. Over the next week here, we're going to have all this information out in an email. And again, please sign up, join us. I know Charlie and Fred were out there with us last week for Reggie Miller. We had a really great turnout. We had about 15 folks up there walking. I know Reggie's campaign really appreciated that, loved the numbers. I know LCV was out there knocking that day, and I don't know if we broke the record, the single day door number record, but we were really close, according to their campaign. We were competing with 2022, so it really does make a difference, and these candidates, they do recognize that when we're out there for them. And so also making the pitch why voting matters. Yusuf Rabi, our chair of our executive committee of the Michigan chapter, won his first county commission race by 2 votes. One single vote flipped the control of the Virginia House of Delegates in 2017. Trump's margin of victory in Michigan in 2016 averaged out to 2 votes per precinct across the state. Overall, that was 10,000 votes that he won Michigan by. And again, with this election cycle being the way it is, it's going to come down to the margins here in this state. We have our endorsement page that is up. Our election guides should be, making their way out there. I think there was an email sent, if you're all members of the Sierra Club, there's an email that went out earlier this week from me highlighting our endorsements page. But here's a link to it as well. And I'm happy to open up to any questions. That's all I got.
Tim, I had a question. I was reading that some of the Trump voters, followers, were trying to set up challenges to the election before it even happens. What would be, do you know what would be a typical scenario of what they'd be trying to set up?
I mean, I do not know. I mean, their MO
I
is
just want to. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say their MO is to sow confusion, to intimidate, to make people feel and make people have a complete mistrust in our elections. I mean, it's kind of like it's trying to set up a playbook to disenfranchise people and to create a scenario for, if he does lose, to use it against the electoral process. I know that's speaking more in broad terms, Jerry, but that's kind of what the MO is. Sorry, Charlie.
No, that's all right. I wanted to support your request that folks jump on these opportunities, particularly to canvass, but phone banking is good too. I haven't canvassed in a while until the Reggie Miller event, because of COVID and all that sort of thing. But I would really encourage folks. It was pretty easy. Most of the time the campaign is going to identify marginal voters, folks that are generally supportive. So it's not like you're going to be knocking on people that are going to get all angry at you and that sort of thing. Everybody I met was supportive. I had the folks that want to talk to me about how supportive they are. And so it really went very well. So if you can grab a friend, go to one of these events. It is it'll be a positive experience, I guarantee it.
Yeah, and we always pair people up too. Unless folks want to go out on their own, they can, but we always make sure we go in pairs. And with folks who are first time canvassers, we always make sure you're paired up with someone who has, a lot of experience with door knocking. So we never want, to, just, hang people out to dry here. We want to make sure people, feel comfortable being out there, and making sure that, also for safety reasons, that we all are out there in pairs together.
Carla, did you have a question?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
hi. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here with you. So ironically enough, I got really excited when I heard about, was it Daniel Mahoney?
Mahoney. Yes.
Mahoney, yes. I actually well, ironically enough, I went to a very small Christian conservative, it was very small private Christian university, Spring Arbor University. It's right outside of Jackson, Michigan. So it just kind of made my heart flutter. So I'm fairly new to the group, so I would love to obviously be more involved. And so anything I can do in terms of, now, yeah, the door knocking. So that seems like something I would be interested in. So I'm very new, but I would love to obviously do more. That obviously our vote is very important, it's very essential. The times that we're living in is like every vote literally counts. Like you have the people who thinks that their vote doesn't count, it really does. So I just want to be of service to my community. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure to reach out, but also more importantly, welcome. Thanks
Thank you
for
so
being here
much.
tonight. Thanks for being a member of the Sierra Club. And we're really excited to have you. So
Thank you.
thanks for coming
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, just to check, do you know do you have Pamela's contact information?
No, I do not.
Um,
Would love to have it.
yeah, Pamela, do you think you could drop it in the chat for?
Sure. Like my email address.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
would be good.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
Christy and I will reach out to you personally.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Charlie, are we going to get into what our local climate team is up to? In terms of-
Sure. You want to speak to that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have in Southeast Michigan, most of you, I think, know, but some may not, a group recently put together to address particularly climate issues. And that group has been doing our own electoral related efforts. First to buy and distribute 100 climate voter lawn signs around the area. And then we started leafleting with a climate voter leaflet, and with information about the Sierra Club's endorsements and other materials. We did our initial one at the Oakland County Farmers Market in Waterford. We're going to do that again on Saturday morning. And anyone who is interested in joining us, it was a lot of fun. We talked to a lot of different people, some of whom were really agreeable, others wanted to argue or had different things to say about climate justice, and the elections. So I think it's a useful thing to do. We've been invited to come on Sunday and table in Pontiac by Pontiac City Councilor Mikhail Goodman at an event that he's putting on that involves community resources and efforts to help people avoid police problems with their cars, something that people have been doing in various areas around here. seems to have a really useful effect. Anyway, he invited us to have a table there and leaflet. And if we have some folks, I think at least a couple of us are planning on doing it. So anybody who would like to join us and you know, talk to people and hand out leaflets, talk about the environment in this election one-on-one with people of all sorts who may have, you know, a way to affect votes, and put your name in the chat, or I'll put my email in the chat as well. And Charlie, do we have anything set up with Shadia Martini? That was the other plan that we're working on.
We don't have that yet, but I was trying to identify a time, and I'll work on getting the email list for everybody who registered for this and sending that out. I did put my contact information in the chat. And if anybody's interested in the events that Fred just talked about, feel free to contact me and I can help you get set up on that.
So,
Any other questions that folks might have for Tim or Fred or me?
So something just to tag on to what Fred said, in I just wanted to mention again this book Mud Lake, which hasn't been highly promoted, but it has really highlights everything that's been talked about tonight, in addition to what Fred's been talking about, which might be interesting for the event coming up, is, you know, as far as a promotional aspect during that event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there, but I'm going to put a little note in the chat about it, and just for information where all of you can find, you know, more information about it. And if it sounds interesting, you know, go ahead and do whatever promotions you want about it. But it definitely speaks to everything that we've been talking about tonight.
Jim, can I ask you a question to maybe shift gears just a little bit off of the election? Are you anticipating any attempts by the legislature, either before the election or in lame duck, to pass any legislation that we might be concerned about?
Well, yeah, well, data centers for one, that fight's not over. We were able on the 25th of September to achieve a partial victory. One of the bills, so it's two bills, they both needed to go, only one of them went. And so we were able to stop the second one, but that will surely come back, since it's one of those situations where we lived to see to fight another day, right? And so it will surely come back up in lame duck, yes. In terms of other problematic things, I'm not 100% sure. I can tell you what, I mean, there are some things that we're definitely going to be pushing for that are great. Like, we want to see water affordability go. We want to see that package done by the end of this year. There should be no reason that it shouldn't. And so data centers, though, is you know, definitely one of the problematic things I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's some other pieces of legislation that we're concerned about and watching. Low carbon fuel standards, which is promotion of biofuels, which you know, we have some concerns about. You know, there's some other pieces of legislation which I don't think will see the light of day, but that is out there and has been introduced, is around really the deregulation of CAFOs here in Michigan, that we're following closely. And so Those are some of the things I can think of off the top of my head, but there are other really key things that we're going to be pushing uh, uh, as well. It's kind of up in the air though, Charlie. You can talk to any legislator or someone in leadership, and you'll get about 5 different answers on what lame duck may or not be.
All right, well, we're coming up on time. Any other questions for Tim?
Yeah, Pamela, I saw you come off mute, or were you trying to speak, or not really? I just want to make sure if you had a question that we have. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Tim will be sending out those slides that have some important links in there, and I certainly want to encourage everybody to participate in those key races, or even just their local races if they can.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.